Okay, let's go ahead and make a Lego brick. We're going to start with a 1 by 1 by 1 block. The very first step we're going to do is choose a plane. We're going to go with the top-down plane. The basic shape of a Lego is, of course, a square. We're going to use a formula to determine these dimensions. That formula is going to be the number of studs times 8 millimeters minus 0.2 millimeters. Let me go ahead and type that in. It's not really necessary on this one brick, but we're going to go ahead and do it just to practice the skill. And you'll see that what comes out is 7.8 millimeters. Let's go ahead and do the same thing here. You can type the functions directly into the dimension block. All right, this one's correctly dimensioned. All the lines are black. Let me go ahead and finish this sketch. We can extrude this. We're going to come and make this one 3.2 millimeters tall. And you'll see that we're left with a brick base right here. Now the next step we're going to do is we're going to create a sketch on this top surface, and that's where we're going to make our stud. Studs are pretty easy with Legos. You do have to, of course, give the diameter a dimension. It's going to be 4.8 millimeters. It's going to be the same on all Lego bricks. The next thing we're going to do is we need to create a dimension to lock this in place. There's a couple ways to do it. We're going to do this method over and over and over again because it works in a lot of scenarios. So we're going to do to the nearest edge, and we're going to make that 3.9 millimeters. And then we're going to do a perpendicular edge as well. And this should lock it in for us. And you can see that the line went black. The circle is obviously in the center. So let's go ahead and hit finish sketch here. Now, anytime we do a sketch, we're going to do a corresponding action. That's going to be something like extrude or revolve, something like that. For Legos, it's going to be mostly extrude. We need to give this a dimension. So this is going to be 1.7 high. And this is all coming from the Lego dimensions document we looked up on Wikipedia. So I believe it was the Lego Dimensions SVG is the search term. All right. Now we've got a pretty good looking Lego block here, but it's missing some stuff. So the very first thing we need to fix is the bottom. Obviously Legos are hollow on the bottom, and we're going to give that a shell, and we're going to give it a shell wall thickness of 1.2 millimeters. Now this is a pretty good looking Lego brick right now. But we need to go ahead and edit the material. So let's go ahead and do that. Legos are made of ABS. We can change this to, or this body's material to ABS. So we're going to expand the bodies over here. I'm going to right click body 1, and we're going to go to physical material. And we're going to pull up this item right here. I'm going to try and pull it over a little bit so you guys can see it. We're going to select the plastic toolbox, and we're going to pull ABS in there. Luckily for us, it's the very first item in the materials list for plastic. So we can go ahead and hit OK. Now, this is not a very exciting looking color because it is just basic white. But we aren't stuck with basic white. We can actually apply an appearance to it. So we can do that the same way. We can right click over here and go to appearance. But you'll notice that it also tells you that the hotkey is A. So in the future, we'll use that. But for this one's fine. Okay, we're going to expand plastics again. And then we're gonna scroll through these. Now all the Lego colors are under the translucent folder. So let's go ahead and pull one of those on there. I'm thinking that I want a nice green one. I like this high glossy green. So we'll apply that to it. And you can see that that is now done. I think that's a very Lego-y looking color. I can go ahead and change my environment back so that you can see a little better. All right, so that's pretty good. I can go ahead and close this one out, and then I can add the finishing step to this. So I'm going to try and keep this video under about 6 minutes. All right, so I have this here. I'm going to save it. I'm going to title this guy as a 1 by 1 by 1 brick. And then I'm saving it into the project folder I created called Lego 2025. And I think this is the fall semester ones. Yep. All right. So to make a drawing is fairly easy, and we're going to stick to a very rudimentary drawing standard in this course because we don't want to spend a lot of time on it. But what we're going to do is go to where it says design. This is your actual workspace. So you can go to the drawing workspace and you can hover over that until it expands and choose from design. And you'll see that the Lego is already selected. We are going to always change from ISO to ASME. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now, this is a very small brick, but we're going to leave the sheet size as B because I'm just going to scale up the brick. Excuse me. So let me go ahead and hit OK here. Now remember, this is going to be a very large sheet of paper, but it'll be fine for our purposes in here. All right, so I have my brick placed here. You'll notice that by default, I'm in the base view. I'm going to go ahead and put that down. And I'm going to make some selections over here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select visible edges. And then the other thing I'm going to do is by default, my drawing kit has a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm going to make sure that's all disabled. I don't need any of that. And now I can go ahead and hit OK. You'll notice I'm left with some nice line art here. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go to projected view, and I'm going to start laying out my brick placement is, right? So I need a view of the top, I need a view of the bottom because there's some structure in there that I need. I don't need this view. This is the exact same view, so go ahead and omit any repeating views. And then I need an isometric view up here in the corner. Now the isometric view is a little small for my taste here, so we're going to make this bigger. So let's go ahead and make this like 7:1. Remember, scale is just a fraction. This is 7/1. All right, the other thing is I want to go ahead and give it some color, so I'm going to actually switch it to shaded. And the reason for that is I want some of the textures and colors to come into these drawings so we can see instantly. All right, now we're going to go ahead and lay out dimensions by hand. You do have the option of using auto dimension, but remember, you're going to do a lot of extra work with that. So I'm going to go through dimension and just lay out what I need. Remember, I click on this tool and I hover over an edge. I'm going to place all the dimensions I need on here. Remember that I'm going to need the diameter of the circle. I'm also going to need to go from the edges and lay out what those are. And then I need to do both of those. Again, this is a very rudimentary standard, but we're going to stick with it. It'll be good practice. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put out both of those dimensions. Then the other thing I'm going to do is call out what the wall thickness is here. That is it. That is everything I need for my basic Lego. So I'm going to go ahead and save this document as well. You'll notice that it'll save as the drawing version. It'll just add drawing to the end of the title file. Go ahead and do that. And at this point, this is a pretty good place to stop this video. We'll go over some of the stuff in the drawing in the next one.